Welcome back to my channel, guys. Hey, it's me, Swastika, and today we are going to discuss the current affairs for July 9th, 2020 from the newspaper The Hindu. I have done my master's in political science from Jawaharlal Nehru University. I've done my BA honors in political science from Delhi University. And if you like my content, then please press the subscribe button. That's the red button at the bottom of the video. Please press it. So today we are going to discuss four things. The first is an article on social contract theory and linking that to the pandemic crisis. This is in the editorial page. The second is an article on labor distress, and this is the bottom editorial page. The third is an article on the environment. This is on the op-ed page of the newspaper, and lastly we would be discussing some short news and its consequences. So, the article on social contract theory is written by Srinath Sridevan and Adil Kurumboy. Srinath Sridevan and Adil Kurumboy are advocates practicing at the Madras High Court and work with HSB partners. So they've written an article which I find very interesting from the looking at it from the optics of being a student who has done her masters in political science, because this is something that we have studied for over 8 9 years. So please pay attention. Nobody can explain this better to you than I can. So the question that they have started off with is that is the pandemic's impact the failure of individual governments, or is it due to the failure of bipolar ruler and the rule dynamic governance structures outside the world? So they begin off by explaining the social contract theory. The social contract theory is something which has been put into place by Hobbes, Locke and Rousseau, the three proponents of सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. तो ये है क्या सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट? बहुत मुश्किल सा साउंड करता है, लोगों को समझ नहीं आता. काफी लोग इस बात के बारे में चर्चा भी करते हैं, बट आखिरकार ये सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है क्या? तो सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जो है वो ये है कि हम लोग जो इंडिविजुअल्स हैं, हम लोग जो एक एक आदमी हैं, हम लोग अपने राइट्स दे करके एक बड़ी स्टेट को दे देते हैं जो फिर हमारे पे रूल करती है. तो द इंडिविजुअल इन नेचर is, according to Hobbes, a nasty, brutish person, right? So Hobbes had described the state man in the state of nature as nasty, brutish, self-centered, selfish, only wants to look out for his self-interests. So he takes this a step further and says that when a lot of men combine, a society is formed. So from the individuals, combination of individuals, a society is formed. This society will just end up killing each other. We will fight over resources, we will fight over a lot of things, and we will end up killing each other. In order for that to not happen, we need someone to govern over us. हमें कोई चाहिए जो हमारे ऊपर गवर्न करे और हमें बताए और हमें प्रोटेक्ट करे. किससे? एक दूसरे से. So we need someone out there to protect us from each other. Otherwise, we will all kill each other if man is left in the state of nature. ठीक है? तो इसलिए जो है हम लोग अपने राइट्स उठा के जो है एक स्टेट को दे देते हैं. ये स्टेट जो है एक सुप्रीम बॉडी है जो हमारे राइट्स लेकर हमें एक दूसरे से प्रोटेक्ट करती है. ठीक है? सो दिस स्टेट इज अ सॉवरेन body which exercises control over our rights. So he's also written in this that when monarchies and empires prevailed, it was easy to understand social contract, to obey an identifiable sovereign who in turn was deemed to be a god's representative on earth. Right. So this is social contract theory according to Hobbes. According to Rousseau, who says that men in the state of nature are free. रूसो को लगता है कि जो मैन है he is born free but yet everywhere he is in chains. So by this he means that in the state of nature, when the man is born and he is away from society and society hasn't seeped into him, he is free, right? But when a society is formed, he is in chains. So they are Hobbes and Rousseau fundamentally disagree with each other on how an individual is, but what they do agree on is that people agree on establishing society by renouncing the rights they had against each other in nature. सो वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस दिस. इसका मतलब ये है कि जो हमारे पास नेचर, जब मैन स्टेट ऑफ नेचर में था, उसके पास उस टाइम पे जो राइट्स थे वो उसने अपने राइट्स एक बड़ी उसको दे दिए जो उस पर रूल करे, एक स्टेट को उसने अपने राइट्स दे दिए. उसने अपने राइट्स रिनाउंस करे तो वो राइट्स जो है वो स्टेट उसके ऊपर एक्सरसाइज करती है. ठीक है. Secondly, they agree to confer upon the one power to enforce the social contract. Now, this one power can be a state in modern societies. This one power could have been a monarchy or an empire or an identifiable sovereign or a king in other societies. This is different. ठीक है. So in today's lecture we would be discussing the modern society. So this is social contract theory कि हमने अपने rights उठाए और एक state को दे दिए. तो इसकी जो famous book है थॉमस हॉब्स की लेवियाथन, उसमें उनने ये इस बात पे चर्चा करी है कि आखिर सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट थ्योरी क्या है और इसके क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज है. ठीक है. तो अब इन ऑथर्स ने इसको पैंडेमिक के क्राइसिस से लिंक करा गया है. अब हम आगे देखते हैं कैसे. So in the modern society, unquestioned obedience to state started to fade with rights like freedom to speech and expression. So this basically means that in the earlier ancient times when we used to have monarchies and empires, they used to rule over us and we had to unquestionably obey them, obey the one supreme power. In modern society, this trend is starting to fade because the individual can exercise rights such as the freedom to speech and expression, and he can therefore question the government because we are a democracy today, so we have the right to dissent and to question the government. So the modern government takes on executive and the sovereign power with the consent of people. So it's only when people, जब हमारे जैसे लोग consent देते हैं कि आप अपनी एक गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म कर लो. डेमोक्रेसी इज अ पीपल्स गवर्नमेंट, राइट? सो व्हेन पीपल गिव देयर कंसेंट टू अ पार्टी, then only can that party take on and become the executive or the sovereign power. So it is not hereditary, it is not charismatic authority, it is more rational in nature because we are giving our consent. But the governments take this a step further by deciding what is best for the people. तो प्रॉब्लम आखिरकार आती कहाँ है डेमोक्रेसी में? द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट द गवर्नमेंट्स who have taken up our rights start deciding what is best for their people. So what happens is that the individual will starts to become the collective will. So this is important because this means that the what used to be the will of the individual is now becoming the will of the collective. So we don't really pay a lot of attention to what an individual or what a minority group wants. It's about the greater good, it's about the collective will, and the governments only start deciding that what is good for you, what is bad for you, and this eventually leads to too much power and too much centralization of power in one place. And this centralization and aggrandizement of power in the hands of the sovereign is done in the name of public good. तो public good के एक image, एक falsity, एक छापे के पीछे जो है बहुत ज़्यादा power centralize हो जाती है and governments start deciding what is good for you. तो ये इमेज जो है वो कब एक्सपोज होती है? ये इमेज इस पैंडेमिक जैसे क्राइसिस में एक्सपोज होती है जिसमें हम देखते हैं जो इंफॉर्मेशन का एक्सेस है अबाउट द पैंडेमिक वो इक्वली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं हुआ है. जो एक्सेस टू अवॉइड द डिजीज, ये एक्सेस भी इक्वली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं हुआ है. एक्सेस टू ट्रीटमेंट इज ऑब्वियसली नॉट इक्वल. वी सी सो व्हाट वी आर सीइंग टुडे इज दैट सोसाइटी इज डीपली unequal. It's not that there are slight inequalities that can be stitched over, but we see a society that is deeply unequal to an extent where we see not one India, but we see two Indias. So, one India is people who are just observing social distancing, they are buying their groceries and all the provisions and following by observing all the precautions and largely obeying the governmental directives about COVID-19 prevention. These are the rich people. The second India comprises of people who crowd railway terminals to travel long distances, sometimes for days to get back to their native towns, and when that fails, decide to resort to the drastic step of even walking those hundreds of kilometers, defying all governmental directives. It is for the second India that the impact of COVID has been the hardest, and the impact has nearly nothing to do with the disease. So the second India comprises of the poor people who we see walking down the highways, the migrant labor who's so greatly in distress. The first India comprises of people who are rich, who have all the provisions, who are following the social distancing, who are doing everything. So we live in a deeply unequal society. And now we are trying to figure out that what is it that is making the society even worse. It's making it even worse, deeply more deeply unequal. So the first has been जो सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट थ्योरी जिसकी हमने सबसे पहले बात करी थी वो ये कहती है कि हम अपने राइट्स उठा के एक सुप्रीम पावर को दे दें. ठीक है. But the problem arises when this supreme power centralizes all the power in its own hands and decides to become the central authority, as has been stated by in Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes. The response to the crisis has resulted in an unequal relief to different stratas of society due to centralized power. But this centralization of power that we are witnessing is not the correct response to the pandemic, and it's the reason why we have failed. This centralized approach is leading to more and more inequalities, and there has been unequal relief in different strata of the society. जो गरीब जनता है, जो लोग रेलवे टर्मिनल्स में जा रहे हैं, जो हाईवे पे लेबर माइग्रेंट्स वॉक कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए ये बहुत उनको कभी इस चीज का बेनिफिट हो ही नहीं सकता. जो रिच है उनको बेनिफिट हो रहा है क्योंकि वो उनको एक्सेस टू हेल्थ केयर है, वो प्रिकॉशंस कर पा रहे हैं, एंड द रीजन फॉर दैट इज सेंट्रलाइज्ड पावर. सो द ऑथर कंक्लूड्स बाय सेइंग दैट टू approach the pandemic and to recognize where we went wrong, we need a decentralized approach. Coronavirus cannot be defeated by the Leviathan. The social contract needs to be rewritten. This doesn't mean that we need a revolution, but rather a fundamental introspection and rethinking by the governing class, including the bureaucrats. So he's saying that the Leviathan can't beat the coronavirus. We need to rethink, we need to rewrite, and the governing class, especially the bureaucrats, need to fundamentally introspect. The pandemic crisis can only be overcome when a state is sensitive, has decentralized steps, and ensures empowerment. The state that we have today is doing none of the above. So moving on, the second article, I'm going to quickly go through it because I just felt that it didn't really have a lot of important points. But so it's about the migrant labor distress. So Jose Saramago, who is a Portuguese Nobel laureate, had written a novel called Blindness. So in this, he talks about an epidemic where people will become blind. So the author, by the way, is Rajendra Narayan, who teaches at Azim Premji University and has been a sworn volunteer. So he is linking this blindness to two things. First, he's linking it to blindness regarding workers. He's saying that the Chief Labour Commissioner stated that there are 26 lakh migrants. The Economic Survey put the number over 8 करोड़. तो 26 लाख और 8 करोड़ में बहुत बड़ा डिफरेंस है, और हम लोग ये अज्यूम कर रहे हैं कि जो वर्कर्स हैं, that we are blindly ignoring the workers. Okay, so the blindness comes into play here. The second thing he talks about is blindness about deaths and hunger. National Food Security Act has to provide food grains till November end, but it excludes people without a ration card. So this means कि जो hunger and deaths हैं, उनको भी हम लोग largely we are blind towards them also. Why? So in the previous episodes, in the first few days that I discussed the current affairs, we talked about the National Food Security Act and how the government is trying to provide free food grains till the end of November. But this is largely excluding people without a ration card. So this is very problematic because according to the because it's very problematic because this means that as per the estimates of Megha Mungikar, John Dres, and Ritika Khera, roughly 10 crore eligible beneficiaries continue to be excluded under the NFSA. तो 10 करोड़ लोगों को हम लोग ऐसे ही exclude कर रहे हैं. Further on, the government is using 2011 consensus data, which underestimates the NFSA coverage. So इसका largely coverage जो है it has been underestimated. So we are in fact blind towards hunger and deaths. We are also blind regarding the workers. That's what he's trying to say. In the next page in the op-ed today, there was an article which is written by Chitrangda Chaudhary and Aniket Aga. Chitrangda Chaudhary is an independent journalist working on issues of the environment. Aniket Aga teaches environmental studies at Ashoka University. So, what are they trying to say? So they are basically saying that projects in critical forest habitats are being considered or have been given clearance by the environmental ministry. So what they are saying is that despite the pandemic being there, we are not learning and picking up the right lessons. Instead of looking for ways in which we could stop environmental degradation, the Ministry of Environment is just trying to fasten and hasten the cases that are going to lead to further environmental degradation. Through the pandemic, expert bodies of Ministry of Environment have considered and in many cases cleared multiple infrastructure mining and critical wildlife projects. So I have mentioned the projects they have cleared. Uh, Etalin hydropower project in biodiversity rich Dibang Valley of Arunachal Pradesh, coal mine in Assam's Dehing Patkai Elephant Reserve, diamond mining in the Panna forested belt, coal mine to be operated by Adani Enterprises with coal-fired power plants in Orissa Talbira Forest, limestone mine in Gir National Forest, geotechnical investigation in Sharavati Lion Tail Macau Sanctuary in Karnataka. Further, the draft environmental bill, which we had talked about earlier, is also proceeding. So we see no signs of the government trying to take up measures and realizing the mistakes that have been made throughout the pandemic and how the coronavirus crisis is necessarily and impact of us humans not treating the environment well, and how by taking all of these projects forward we are basically endangering critical wildlife habitats. Moving on, so in short news, we see that UAE is in support of open sky policy in India. So India has an open sky policy with the SAARC nations. Other nations beyond 5,000-kilometer radius have to enter into a bilateral agreement and mutually determine the number of flights that their airlines can operate between the two countries. So between India and UAE, right now we have 1068 flights, and the ambassador of UAE, Mr. Albama, is basically saying that we should have an open sky policy and we want one with India, and this should be done as soon as possible. So guys, thank you for listening to my video. If you made it till the end and if you like my content and if you think it's helpful, then I would strongly request you to press the subscribe button. Thank you.